Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi. That's right, I decided it was time to take an on-screen persona. And it's that time again. It's midweek, and I want you to play some magic so you can win 2 free rare or better ICRs. This week, we are going to be exploring Alchemy Artisan, which is slowly but surely shaping up to be the new classic for midweek magic. More and more, we are seeing alchemy showing up as a defining aspect of midweek magic. So, this week, we're going to do something a little unusual. This video is going to be about 50% strategy when it comes to alchemy and about 50% deck list for all of you new players, budget, or free to play players out there. So you can dive into this even as the second midweek magic of the new post rotation season with a 0 wildcard option. So stay tuned. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? For some of you, this midweek magic might be the first time you stick a toe into the alchemy pool. And for those newcomers, just a very brief explanation. Alchemy is a Hearthstone-inspired digital format that allows for digital only mechanics, things that you just couldn't do in real world paper magic, as well as the flexibility of being able to adjust the format by changing aspects of the card mid-season. You don't have to go back to development and rework it and then print it in paper. You can just change it in the digital format. Alchemy also gets a bit of hate from some of the longer term players in Magic in particular, for the very simple reason that it's not normal magic. It's not the magic you grew up with, etc., etc. Some of the defining aspects of alchemy that we just talked about are executed better than others. But the reality is, Magic changes about every 3 months every time they release a new set. So the fact that it changes a little more often or to a little higher degree really shouldn't be that big a deal. And honestly, the more budget, the newer, the more free to play you are on Arena, the more you need to be aware of and involved in alchemy. If for nothing else, the simple reason that roughly 1/3 of your new player collection is alchemy only cards. And midweek magic has definitely started to shape up to an alchemy centered event. In fact, if memory serves, there has not been a single standard flavored midweek magic since alchemy was introduced. If you are looking to get a little more substantially into alchemy, I think one of the most budget friendly ways of doing it is with the purchase of the Innistrad Alchemy packs. That's right, I said buy packs. This one time, this one circumstance. You see, this was the original set for alchemy where it was introduced, and there are at least 5 really good, impactful uncommons in that set. And any one of these basically unlocks or makes more powerful a deck for you in alchemy and allows you to compete on a much more level ground than just running a standard deck. I recently did an experiment on a free to play account that I had cooked up, And I think it was right around 6 packs I had to purchase in order to get a complete play set of, in that case, the Tenacious Pup, good old Tenacious P there, which just makes your werewolf deck so much better. So if you are looking for a fairly painless way to really up your stakes in the alchemy based game, this is a fantastic way to do it. Yet another interesting point about alchemy when it comes to something like an artisan event. Artisan's deck building rules state that only commons and uncommons can be used to build your deck, along with basic lands. Um, the implication being that rares and mythics cannot be used. It does not, however, state anywhere in the rules of alchemy or the artisan sub format that you cannot cast rares or mythics, just that you can't put them in your deck. Interestingly, alchemy has multiple uncommons that allow you to draft spells from outside the game that never appeared in your deck otherwise, thus bypassing the artisan restriction, and then allow you to cast those, like Angel of Destiny, Anointed Procession, Cultivator Caravan. Let's see, does this one have Magistrate Scepter, Pyre of Heroes, Treasure Chest, Witch's Vengeance, Curse of Leeches, Cruel Reality as a mythic, Thieves Guild Enforcer. Let's see, what's this guy got going on? Treasure Vault, Gilded Lotus, Key to the City. All of these things threaten to change the balance of power within tonight's event. So one, be on the lookout for it, and two, maybe consider building a deck around it now or in the future. I know I will. To wrap up the strategy section, the last reason that I think you really need to give alchemy its due on Arena as a format is the fact that the meta is really very different than Standard for the majority of the time that it has been out. If you look at the current metas, Standard is all but dominated by mono black, but in alchemy it is hardly present at all. Rakdos is a strong number 2 deck, but when it comes to alchemy, it's more like 8th and hardly a real contender in there. Of course, there are some overlaps here. And in fact, when you cut out all of the decks that don't overlap, you see that there is in fact 3 overlapping decks here. Selesnya Enchantments, the ubiquitous for a new season, mono red, and what I think is the most interesting overlap here is the GRrrrr Werewolves style deck. I think that is in large part because of its very successful inclusion in the current budget year's new player experience decks. While I don't think it's the best deck that you can build with your new player experience, it probably is the one that is the best right out of the box. And we've already talked about a simple way of purchasing Innistrad alchemy packs in order to add Tenacious Pup to that and make the alchemy deck a little bit more significant. I think that's why you see it in alchemy as a much higher up, more successful relative deck to its standard counterpart. And the remainder of the video is going to be talking about a 0 wildcard option for this week's midweek magic using Alchemy Werewolves. Now let's go over the deck list for this evening's Alchemy Artisan event. If this deck list looks familiar, well, you're right, because this is almost card for card from the new player experience deck on the Hunt. Of course, we had to strip the rares out of it, and that meant we put a few more cards into it. Things like 2 copies of Play with Fire. We also put in 3 copies of Rabbit Bite, 2 copies of Burn Bright, and 1 copy of Colossal Majesty. We did play with the mana base just a little bit, bringing that down to a more acceptable 23 cards for a red-green aggro deck. And of course, this is a basis. We have gone with an entirely free-to-play new player experience deck because we are just really 2 weeks into rotation at this point. We haven't had a single quick draft really come up outside of Streets of New Capenna, and hopefully you just didn't. But there are certainly some things, if you have them in your collection, would make sense. Additional copies of Tenacious Pup from Alchemy. It's perfect for this deck. Additional copies of Packsong Pup, Naturalist, Unnatural Moonrise, all very, very good in this deck and easy upgrades. We also did add Village Watch and Burly Breaker just to have some higher end beaters, because you've got a lot of removal in this deck, and then being able to come in mid game and have some very large creatures that are outside of damage based removal is just really going to help you close out some games. So this is the basic starting point for the deck. I hope everybody enjoys this week, and of course, I hope to see you tonight.
What's that? You didn't catch all that? Well, Matt would like you to know that any deck list applicable to this video can be found down in the doobly-doo. Hey, let's not forget, the whole reason to participate in these totally free midweek Magic events is the prize support is awesome.
And don't forget, if this video gets just 10 likes by 8 p.m. tonight on the day of release, I will be live playing this on my Twitch channel. And with all that having been said, don't forget, smash that like button like Ronnie J would. And until next time, I'll see you in the arena.